Hello and welcome to Help Nobody Told Me. I am your host today, Shannon Johnson, and my co-host is the wonderful Mindy Leonard from SOS Organizing, who we love as a part of our team. So
thank you so much.
Absolutely. I love hosting with you.
I know. It's so fun. And we have a really special guest today, personally and professionally. So we have Taylor Wells here with us. Taylor and I know each other on the personal level because he is married to my niece, so he is my nephew, and that's really special. On a personal level, he is a Senior Creative Strategist at Twitch, and Twitch is the largest live streaming platform in the world. So Taylor,
yes,
nice to see you in this kind of situation.
Of course, likewise.
Yes.
You know.
So tell us about what you do. Tell us about what you do for Twitch.
Yes. So I know we were just talking about this, but Twitch is one of those places where I either get blank stares or people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you work there.
Right.
But yeah, so I am a Senior Creative Strategist, which means I work with brands that are looking for a way to be authentic on Twitch and to reach these gaming audiences and sort of help them find the best way to do that. So it's a lot of being very tapped into like what's going on in video gaming, what's going on in pop culture, and making sure that anyone that wants to come and do something that goes beyond just traditional advertising on Twitch, they can do that in a very sort of authentic way.
So it's very targeted.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a
So
good time.
most of our content is about seniors and their families and life transitions and all these kinds of things. So I'm sure our listeners are going, what are they doing? Video games and live streaming. What does this have to do with anything? All right. So what's the relevance here? Help us out, Taylor.
Yeah. Well, no relevance, really. No, it's a fair question, and it's definitely something that seems antithetical at first. But out of pure curiosity to both of you, do you know how big gaming is today?
As far as like the number of people who game,
number
or
of people, like how it sort of captures the market, and the answer can be I have no idea. That's very.
I know it's huge.
I mean,
Yes.
that's what I was
am
going to say.
not a gamer.
Right. Me either.
At all.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe a solitaire game on my phone. That's
Exactly.
about as gamey as I get.
And that's fair.
Right. I'm going to say it's huge,
And I can't even
and I
imagine
think
the
it's going to
dollar
surprise
amount.
us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Okay. So
Drum roll.
Yeah.
The anticipation builds. So, gaming as an industry, as of this year, is about a $200 billion plus global industry. It's bigger than film, television, and music put together. It is the biggest
Wow.
entertainment industry in human history.
I think that statement actually is more tangible than saying the dollar amount.
Yeah.
Because $200 billion to
Yep.
me, like that's monopoly money. I don't even understand what that is.
I know, it's astronomical.
It's astronomical. But when you think of all those other industries that you just mentioned, and
Yeah.
you're saying it's bigger than all of those combined,
It's crazy.
It's the largest entertainment platform in the world. Like that blows my mind.
It's nuts. And it's 3.3 billion people. It's a third of the population is considered active gamers.
And what do you have to be an active gamer? What does that mean? You play a certain number of hours every day?
Active gamer, yeah, means a certain number of hours. I'm not sure what the actual number is, but
Yeah.
it means that you're consistent.
You're
in
consistent.
Your game.
Okay.
And it's something that's huge, and a third of the population plays, and that's easy to sort of write off even as saying, like, well, you know, there's a lot of young people in the world that play games, so that
Right.
makes sense.
We are a perfect representative right here. There's three of us sitting around the table, and you are the gamer.
That's true.
You are the 33%.
But I would even say
Yes.
that I bet you two fall into the demographic more than you think you do.
Oh,
Because,
do tell.
well, so the average age of a gamer in the world, in the U.S., I should say, is 35. So it's not just kids.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was 29 10 years ago. So it's getting older.
Well,
Okay, so that kind
those
of
gamers are growing up.
Exactly.
They're
Yeah.
still gaming.
And you're not losing young people. You're just getting more people that sort of capture that older generation as people grow up.
So that is kind of leading into maybe the answer to Shannon's question.
But we're still not in that demographic.
No, but
For the last minute or so.
right, by a
But
year.
as of today,
Yeah.
15% of that like active gaming population is estimated in the US, I should clarify, is estimated to be over the age of 55. So there
Okay.
are people that fall into this demographic of saying like, well, what's the relevance of this to, a community that's not playing games? It's not necessarily true. And really when you think about what gaming is, like you think of, your kids down in the basement playing Fortnite or Call of Duty or whatever, but half of all gaming is mobile gaming, and then the other half falls into PC and things. So like if you play Candy Crush on your phone, technically you fall into the demographic of a gamer because that's the same
Like I said, I do play solitaire every
See?
day.
So you do follow the requisite sort of terminology of what a gamer is. It's just become so commonplace to say like, oh, I play games on my phone.
Right.
You don't think of yourself as a gamer, but you're already kind of weaseling your way in there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you never know.
Right. As far as video games and seniors, like back to your question with the relevance, like seniors who are maybe 65 and older who didn't grow up with games but are now playing with them. How is that working?
So it's very interesting. Take away the sort of like, okay, the 15% of 55-year-olds are like playing games now. Like, why is this relevant? Why should we be talking about this as something that should be happening more often? When you think about studies that have been done with video games before, the things that always come to mind are like, are they harmful for kids? Are violent video games bad for kids? Are they doing harm to the youth of America? And overwhelmingly, spoiler alert, that has not been the case. No studies have shown any correlation that's like violent video games make violent kids or anything like that. What they did show is that a lot of these video games that kids are playing have real mental, emotional, physical benefits to their health, and they sort of got to thinking like, okay, well that's interesting. I wonder if that applies to older people as well. And it turns out, yes, it does, in a very measurable way, that actually leads to sort of better sort of quality of life, better emotional well-being, better connections with your family. It's like there's a lot of benefits that they're just sort of finding out as they sort of retarget their research. But it's something I'm very passionate about because like, what's better than finding something that you can do your whole life and really benefit from that in so many different ways? So that's sort of what we're talking about today, why I think it's so important to talk about like why, people in their senior years should be playing more video games. Because
Can you expand a little bit on the benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. So we break them down into emotional benefits, mental benefits, and physical health benefits. That goes sort of in order of like how believable that is right off the point.
Because I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah. Please.
Let's be serious about this because I'm thinking about my son,
Yes.
who I think there's a little bit of addiction there, and I'm like, just put the phone down, stop gaming for 1 minute while you wash the dishes, okay?
Yes.
So it's like, what is the benefit?
Exactly. Well, and that's a fair question.
Maybe
too.
hand-eye coordination. Past that, I don't know.
That's a good question. And I will caveat all of this to say that not all games are created equal. If you're sitting there like doing the thing where you're just like idly pressing a button on your phone like over and over, it's probably not going to extend the same benefits to you as other games we'll talk about. But for seniors specifically, when you talk about like the benefits here, I would look at it as a way of, capacity versus time. As you get older, like you're obviously like you want your kids to go out and play like football and like run around and like see their friends and everything.
Vitamin D, get some sun.
Exactly. But, it's not realistic to say like, hey, 70-year-olds, how about we go play some flag football in the backyard for a couple hours?
Tackle football.
That's perfectly healthy. But for like video games, the same way people approach golf, they're like, oh, I can play golf my whole life because it's a low impact
shoulder goes
game.
out, yes.
Until your shoulder goes out. unless your fingers are going out, you don't have to worry about that with video games. It's something that no matter how old you get, it's a pastime that you can do that has real health benefits. So it's even better for you if you're elderly, if you're part of the senior demographic, than it is as a kid, because you have so many options as a kid to, go out and do things. So you're not wrong telling your kid to get off his phone.
Well, I remember a long time ago, you and I were talking about this. This is when you first started at Twitch, and I had never even heard of Twitch because I'm not a gamer, but maybe I am a gamer because I do like to play little games on my phone.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were talking about seniors, and that's what spurred me to think of you as coming on as a guest for this, because you said something that stuck with me all this time later, is that the generations that grew up playing video games, and I'm paraphrasing, so I'll let you expand on what I'm saying, but the generations that grew up, when they get to be seniors, and maybe they're in nursing homes or in residential facilities or whatever, will actually be healthier and more well connected to other people, other seniors, than those. They won't be as lonely.
Exactly.
I mean, that's that was like a huge light bulb moment for me, because I never thought about that. I've personally had a lot of experiences in nursing homes. Shannon's laughing.
I'm laughing because I just got this vision of my kids at 75 or 80 in the senior community listening to, we'll say Kendrick Lamar, since we just watched the Super Bowl.
Right.
And playing video games.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's going strong at 80, you have to imagine.
Right.
Oh my
But it's
gosh.
just, I've spent a lot of times in nursing homes with family and that kind of thing, and you see the loneliness, and it's a huge problem. And to have a way to feel connected to others, whether that person is in the U.S., the person's around the world, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Whatever time you're up and you're having that human connection, which
It's
is
huge.
just so important.
Yeah.
And that's what spurred me on to invite you, is that one sentence that you said so nonchalantly, it just stuck with me. So I would love to hear you. I mean, I just paraphrased, but I'd love to hear you expand on
It was
that.
a very eloquent paraphrase.
Oh,
Don't sell yourself short.
Thank you so much.
Of course. No, it's a perfect segue, because mental health is such a huge factor in senior life. I did research ahead of this to just make sure I was getting the numbers right, but there's something like 34% of senior citizens say they suffer from some level of isolation socially, or depression, or feeling as though they don't get the amount of social interaction they need. And that's terrible. You never, no matter what that number is, you don't want it to be double digits. You don't want it to be single digits.
Right.
But as opposed to saying, well, my family doesn't visit enough, or I can't physically go out and see my friends like I normally do, why not pivot to that to do something with video games, where literally your friends, you go down and see your kids with the headset on playing games. There's no reason that precludes people of a different age group. You can find communities that have interests similar to yours, whether it be fishing games or shooting games or whatever, and have real meaningful social interactions that way. They actually did a study about this not too long ago that actually put different groups of people within that senior citizen group into different areas where some people were playing video games that were social with a voice chat and everything, where some people weren't playing video games at all. They saw a very clear difference in the mental health of those people after a couple of months. The group of senior citizens that were playing video games and talking to people online, interacting, felt less depressed. They had more positive outlooks on life. They felt more mentally well. It was this sense of fulfillment that they were getting from just sitting in their house and playing video games.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I can see it, though.
Absolutely.
I can see it. If you are alone and you are not having any sort of human interaction at all, and then you have the opportunity to, tomorrow, I know I'm connecting with
Yep.
XYZ, you have something to look forward to. The day isn't just as, there's I can see it.
Absolutely.
What do you say to seniors who didn't grow up playing video games, who are listening to this and it's maybe sparking an idea like, oh, I think I'd like to try it. How do they get started? How do they know what to play or what equipment they need?
That's a great question. So I would say the best place to start is your family. If you have, kids or grandkids that play video games, I can promise you will have the most engaged grandchild of your life if you say, hey, I'm looking to get into video games. Like, what do you suggest?
I love that.
Yeah, because it truly is this interest that is so big. And because we talked about how successful it is, it has given birth to a myriad of games, no matter what you're into personally. If you love solitaire, there are card games aplenty out there that you can play that have chat interactions.
I don't want to talk to anybody. I talk to people all day long. Don't talk to me. I just want to play my game.
Hey, there's solo games too. I am a solo gamer myself most of the time. But there are any number of games for any kind of interest you might have that you can find on Twitch. We have categories full of games you can see. But really, there's, it's just a matter of finding the thing that seems interesting to you and giving it a try. And there are barriers to that I think helps having, either family to talk to and play with to get, familiarized with it, or to watch people play. That's what Twitch is people watching other people play video games, which sounds insane.
My kids do this, and I'm like, why are you watching him play Fortnite? Just go play Fortnite.
So,
what are you doing?
Yeah, but
it's bizarre to me.
I'm well versed in this argument now from work.
Just being honest.
I want to hear.
So bizarre to me.
Yeah.
It's fair. It seems weird, right?
Or watching people unpackage, I don't know, LOL dolls or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you doing this? But let me ask you this: do you watch sports?
Yes.
Why do you watch somebody play tennis as opposed to playing it yourself?
Because I can't play tennis.
So if you watch an all
These knees are not going out on a tennis court.
But that's fair. And if you're watching someone that's spectacular at a game that you spend, dozens of hours playing a week, that's going to be fun to watch. And if they have a good personality to boot, it's sort of this different, engaging form of entertainment that's, very
I never
akin to sports.
ever thought of it like
well,
that.
It is in pop culture now. My guilty pleasure, General Hospital. It's my thing. I don't know. But I watched Luke and Laura get married in the 80s, and now Laura is the grandmother on the show, right?
Oh, that's funny.
But she made a connection with one of her grandchildren playing video games.
Yeah.
And so they have this relationship. Nobody else has this relationship with him because she plays video games and she beats him, by the way.
Go
nice
Laura.
little twist.
Absolutely.
Go Laura.
I love that. We need more grandparents owning their grandkids in video games.
But to your point before, how cool would it be if a grandparent did want to learn how to play and then be able to connect with your grandchild and help me get into this? That is just the benefits of that is special.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it's a cool thing.
yeah, and it's something that again, visits are obviously the best. And they're you can play video games on the couch next to each other. But if you're ever at after school or something, it's on the weekday, it's not feasible to have a visit, whatever. If you're playing online, you can play with your kids, your grandkids,
right.
people in your community, and you don't have to leave your house. It's such an accessible way to be social.
So are nursing homes catching on to this?
Not as far as I know. I think there are some that have Wii's, for example.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because another benefit of that is physical activity. Certain games like Wii or VR can help with things like balance and gait.
Can you
whatnot.
say what VR is in case somebody doesn't know?
Yes, of course. Virtual reality. So the headsets that you might find in things. Again, sort of an emerging technology in gaming, but has a lot of benefits.
And you might learn how to dance like, I don't know, Michael Jackson or something.
You very well might. No technology known to man has been able to teach me how to dance, but I'm hopeful.
Well, you are a gamer, so
That's
we
true.
wouldn't expect it.
Neither does my wife, so I get it. Oh, man. But, no, yeah, there's some, but it has not caught on yet. And I think a lot of that has to do with what we're talking about, which is that there's this barrier to entry for people that haven't played. There's something called gaming literacy, where if you were to give a controller in a completely new game to one of your sons, they would know the controls of it in less than 5 minutes.
100%.
That's because there's this whole subtext to gaming where, like, I can kind of guess based on all the games I've played prior, like, how a controller works. This is not intuitive knowledge for people that didn't grow up with it.
Unless you hand me an Atari stick.
Then we're
Right.
cooking. Yeah, see?
Right.
But they get more accessible, and getting over that, having someone to teach you is super helpful and sort of helps
Yeah.
get past that.
I mean, what you just said is spot on, because I have tried playing with my kids. I have 3 boys in their 20s, as you know, and I have tried since they were in high school to play with them, and they are so intuitive with that clicker or whatever. I don't even know what it's called. What's it called?
A controller,
A
yeah.
controller, okay. They're so intuitive with it, and I try, and they're like, push this, do that, and I cannot manipulate it the way they can. And it's so natural to them.
Yep.
Like, there used to be an expression, if you didn't know something technologically, talk to me like I'm 4.
Yeah.
Well, now you can't talk to me like I'm 4, because a 4-year-old knows more about it than I might know.
Absolutely.
You know, it's talk to me like I'm 57. You know.
But like, and that's not just you. So there are, again, studies that show that, like, learning the way to sort of, like, work a controller or a mouse and keyboard and play video games while, like, you know, people are thinking about strategy and, like, where they need to go in the game and all that stuff. It's the same neural pathways you make when you're learning to play, like, a piano. You're learning to train your body to do one thing and let your brain work in a different way. And those are the kind of things that help build gray matter. That's what, like, these games tend to do. It lowers the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. Like, it has real benefits, but it's not easy to learn video games. It's not easy to play games on your couch.
I really
there-
feel for you.
Are there particular games that have a better benefit for seniors?
Great question. Yes. So not all games are created equal. I know we've said that before. Unfortunately, some of the more easy to grasp passive mobile games, you know, planting stuff like your Farmvilles, for example, are not going to afford you the benefits that you might get from some of the other ones. The best examples are things like virtual reality or Wii that kind of combine physicality and 3D and tactical thinking, because they'll sort of provide those physical and mental and emotional benefits. But even the study that a lot of these things are predicated on was done with Super Mario 64, which is a 30-year-old game. And that's on N64, which is, you know, a very old Nintendo console.
Okay.
But
Thank you for explaining that.
of course. But, you know, to say that any game can be beneficial is true, because, like, if it's providing you sort of a mental health boost, like, even that's helpful. Even if it's not sharpening your, like, growing your gray matter or anything, it still has that sort of, like fulfillment that you're getting emotionally from it.
I mean, is there a benefit to some of the, you know, the word games and the crossword puzzles that you can play? Is
Yes.
there benefit to some of those?
Absolutely.
I would think.
Absolutely, yeah.
When it comes to memory and
Yep.
Alzheimer's and things like that, that there would be some kind of a connection with
There's
getting those brain cells to work.
100%. It is one of those things where, again, like, you don't need your fast twitch muscles to, like, reap these benefits. There are plenty of puzzle games you can play that sort of allow you to do that. And things like Wordle, like, you get that once a day.
Right.
The time you're doing it is finite, so you're kind of limiting the amount of exposure you get to, like, work your brain. But they absolutely provide the same benefits. Maybe not the physical ones, but the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So if the science is positive, why do you think we haven't seen the integration of this into seniors' lives yet?
I think a lot of it has to do with not only sort of the barrier to entry with video games, we talked about literacy and everything, but it's not a cheap hobby. It's not something that, like, if you're like, I might dabble in mountaineering, so I'm going to go get $3,000 worth of, like, mountain climbing equipment. It seems kind of insane. So to sort of get past that, again, it helps if you have people to sort of ease your way into that. And I think it's something that, is the juice worth the squeeze, so to say. I think some people aren't sure about it. They don't know about the health benefits, and a lot of people still see it as like, it's what nerdy kids play in their basement. Like, why would I do that?
Right. It's very interesting. I have a feeling that a lot of people who listen to this are going to be very surprised at all the science that you've quoted, all the numbers that you've quoted, all of that, because I don't know, I personally am very surprised about all of that. So when you think about the future and you think about nursing homes or independent living or seniors who even just live independently at their homes, what do you envision?
I mean, I think that I'm hoping in the near future, but it's inevitable, I will say just off the bat. Like, in the future,
As the population ages,
Yes.
it's inevitable. But
Yes.
what do you see? How do you
the
see
near
it growing in the near future?
Yeah. I would love to see more companies, and there are some that have done this, embrace, like, gray gaming, and find ways to make gaming accessible now, whether that be, controls that make more intuitive sense, games that are focused more on, like, social aspects and everything. But I'd love to see that sort of come to light, because I think if we can, like, what I'd ideally love to see is for this to sort of catch on in places where things like loneliness are a real issue, or where people need mental stimulation and they don't want to watch, TV for 8 hours a day. And put them there where they can do the most good. Because they really can. Like, you can play with people if you're in, like, an apartment complex. You can all play together. You can play with people, like, across the country. If your friend lives in Utah and you live here, it's just as feasible to play. So yeah, in an ideal world, I'd love to see a bunch of grandparents being like, "Beat it, kids! I gotta put in the hours in the video games."
Oh, I love that so much. So as you were just talking, I was thinking about, I know, for example, there are silverware, there are drinkware, and those kinds of things that are designed for people who maybe have arthritis or
Or have
other
a trimmer or
exactly
things like that. Yes.
So do you know, and I don't know if you do, but do they have controllers that are maybe designed
Adaptable?
for people?
Yes.
Do they?
So there are, and these are obviously, like, special cases.
Right.
But they've made accessible for people that have, like, differing disabilities. There are things that people with limited, like, mobility in their hands. There are some games that you can use just your voice to play.
Wow.
There are crazy videos and streamers on Twitch who actually have setups that are neural based. And I'm not saying that's something anyone needs to dabble into, but
Right.
like, the controller technology is getting better and better and more intuitive as we go.
The options are kind of endless.
Exactly. And especially if you're playing VR, your hands are the controllers, so it's not as restrictive as, learning the crazy grips on all the different controllers.
Oh, this has been fun.
I know.
This is a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about because it kind of is counterintuitive. As mothers of children who have grown up sort of during, like I said, my boys are all in their 20s. And I mean, I remember having the comment, okay, that's enough. Like, turn it off.
Limiting screen time.
And limiting screen time. And I think there is value in limiting screen time, like you said
Absolutely.
before. Right? It's not like we're all going to go home and be like, oh, no, you are not playing outside. You are getting on the game.
Exactly.
And you're going to be, there's balance, right, with everything. There's balance. But to hear about all the benefits and to hear that it really is a worthwhile activity if used properly and correctly and all of that. So interesting.
Yeah.
It's always nice to hear a different perspective from our youth.
Yes.
So we appreciate you opening our eyes to a different possibility and a different use for video games and how they can be productive throughout your lifespan and not just for kids in the basement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's going to be something very interesting to watch the younger generation as they grow older and to see how this kind of thing develops as they age.
Absolutely.
And what is available. Yeah.
It'll be wonderful to see, and I have to do my boilerplate. Outside is good. And exercise is better than anything you will ever do on Wii Sports.
Right.
But yes, if ever you find yourself in a position where you need emotional support or you need something to stimulate yourself more than just watching television, it is 100% a cathartic and positive pastime to have.
And there you have it.
I love it.
Parting words from
Yes.
Taylor Wells.
Thank you so much, Taylor, for taking time out and sharing your knowledge with everybody and our listeners. It's really fascinating information.
It's great information.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. And we hope you'll join us again on Help Nobody Told Us.